if you really want to get into self-care, soul doctoring, heal yourself, heal the planet is going to be the way to go. I'm proficient in more than a dozen different healing modalities in addition to all my board certifications. But what's really important, I'm also familiar with many more, probably 20 different modalities. But it was my vision, my passion, to combine these modalities to create a model for self-healing for everybody, for all of us. So that's what this book is about. It's gonna take you through many patients' journeys, my own healing journey, my own healing myself from cancer, other people from cancer and things that they thought they would never heal from, and they did. And also teach you how to heal yourself. In addition, it talks about our planetary ills, and everybody's waving at me, thank you. And how we might approach those, because healing ourselves is also about healing the planet. Some of you have heard me say this. Yes, I agree with the me thing. The me generation is coming back and we need to self-heal. But without the we are nothing. It's the me and the we. So we're going to talk about passages from my book, but I want to set the stage because I received the vision for writing this book in a Sundance about a quarter of a century ago. And I want to just set the stage for that. My teacher and shaman is Joseph Real, and amazing guy, visionary, also has a PhD in political science, sort of a mixture like the rest of us. So imagine the hottest days in the summer that you can imagine, in July. That's when we Sundance. We've already been fasting and abstaining from, I don't eat meat anymore anyway, but meat, sugar, any kind of alcohol, things like that, get really clean so that you can pass through the 4 days and 4 nights of no food and water and dancing back and forth to the tree of life. We go as a tribe together with the chief to pick out the Sundance tree. I've done 4 Sundances and I've assisted in 4 Sundances or helped, administrate. So we use a cottonwood tree, and you pick out a tree that has a fork because that's how your prayers get sent out to the collective consciousness, to the great mystery, whatever your word is for it. And you know what tree is right because when you approach the tree, those cottonwood leaves are kind of shaped like that, like little paddles, and they're crispy. They start shh, making this sound. So when the cottonwood tree goes shh, it's saying, I want to go. I want to be the sacred tree for your dance. And that's the tree we take. We set it in the center of the sacred circle, and we take her leaves. We've built a Sundance corral, which is round, and the edges come out. We put all the leaves to create shade for the dancers who stay in their spot. You never move from your spot unless you have to go out to the makeshift restroom and come back, and you have to cover yourself with a sheet. When you do that, it's a completely silent, so you don't talk to anyone else. You don't make eye contact. You stay in your spot and keep your focus on the dance and dancing back and forth. And you don't turn your back to the tree. You dance to the tree, then you dance backwards. And there's constant drumming. And then we all blow our eagle whistles constantly. So sunrise to sunset, we dance back and forth to the tree blowing the eagle whistle. Every morning we rise and sing the sunrise song. So there's smoke in the air from the fire. There's sage in the air, sweet grass. So you can imagine that. And we all do leave our place. This is the only time we leave our place. And we all line up facing the sun, and we see it peeping over the horizon, and we put our hands out like this to collect the sun. And as we dance and sing to the sun, we collect the sunlight, and we eat and drink the light of the sun. It feeds us. It quenches our thirst. It gives us energy to go on. It's very sacred. And then we go back to our spot. So I'm just going to set the stage with a little drumming in the song, the sunrise song. Way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh. Way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh. And you do it 4 times. So imagine everybody's standing there dancing. Way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way. Oh, way, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way. And you scoop up the sun. Way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh. You take it in. You breathe it in. You eat it and drink it. Way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way. Way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh, way, oh. And you say, Seneo, which means thank you. And then you go back to your spot. So let me read this passage from my book. It happened after 3 days of the sun dance, and I'm dancing back and forth, blowing my eagle whistle, the drumming, the smoke in the air, and unbeknownst to me, because everyone is really focused on their dance, grandfather comes behind me and puts the eagle wing at my back. And involuntarily, the buffalo enters my heart. I sprout wings and I run at full speed into the tree. Those that witnessed it say that I somehow adhered to the tree, and I swung around, my dance dress fringe flying, and I covered all 4 directions and then landed on my face in the dirt. And I'm in vision, so I'm out of it. Then the moon mothers, they come in, or the dance soldiers, they come and get you and take you to the teepee. But so this is how it went. This was July 1997. 3 days and 3 nights of the Sundance ceremony have passed. The dancing and the fasting from the food and water in New Mexico takes its toll on my body during the hottest, driest 3 days in mid-July I can remember. I surrender to the heat and release my consciousness to fly with the winds of eternity. A vision gifts me. Native American elders are passing a talking stick around a circle and speaking in their native tongue. And I'm watching this. As one speaks, an image forms in the smoke from the fire that burns in the center of the circle. A woman is sitting at a desk with a pen and paper and a computer. The elder passes the talking stick clockwise to the next elder. The talking stick will go around until all have had an opportunity to speak their say about this woman. If they are not finished, they will continue passing it until they're done. Each elder discusses this woman seriously, as though evaluating her. She seems familiar, very familiar. Then I realize that woman is me. The discussion goes on. After passing the talking stick for a fourth revolution, the elders seem to come to an agreement. Symbols appear in the smoke as the talking stick reaches each of the four cardinal directions. When the stick is passed to the east, an eagle appears as a golden sun blazes in the background. To the south, a wolf stands by a clear blue pool of water. To the west, a black bear walks in the lush green forest as the sun sets behind the mountains. And finally, the stick is passed to the north. A white buffalo appears on a grassy plain beneath a large blue sky dotted with puffy white clouds. The buffalo lies down and rolls back and forth and begins to spin, its body becoming round like a medicine wheel, the most sacred healing symbol in many native cultures. The wheel changes into a blue-green sphere, rises and starts rotating in space, our Mother Earth. Finally, the sphere drops down into my hands and then turns into a book with the same symbols on the cover. A book that the vision speaks, the woman is to write, that I am to write. Visions come to us carrying deeper messages. It's our job to understand them and see what they tell us about our lives. And just as an aside, oftentimes we may not even understand that vision when we first receive it. It took me 20 years to begin to write the book because many of the things that it told me I hadn't done yet or I hadn't learned yet, which is very fascinating to me and is sort of an example of tapping into the cosmic consciousness, is getting a vision. The Sundance vision guided me to honor spirit, signified by the smoke in the center of the circle. It also reminded me to remember the importance of integrating ancient knowledge into modern healthcare through the medicine wheel. The image of the earth depicted the global change in consciousness needed on our planet. If you shift the consciousness of even one individual, it creates the potential for many to change. That shift is even more crucial in today's increasing hostile world, where we are in climate change, healthcare crisis, and an active pandemic and toxic emergency. The Mother Earth needs us to get it. We have about 10 years. We're sitting on the precipice of a global shutdown of the largest crash in our entire ecosystem ever before. Our healing ourselves will help heal the planet. And that will lead us back to the balanced path that we need to be. In my vision, the woman arose from the smoke, guiding me to keep my spiritual practices for inspiration. The elders discussed it and instructed me to write a book that I integrated all that I had experienced and learned, and to teach others, but more importantly, to encourage others to bring it into their own lives and self-care and soul care and care for each other. My experience includes the mastery, as I mentioned, of more than a dozen healing modalities and experience with up to 20 different modalities. Built on my foundation as a medical doctor, the vision laid out my work ahead to help unite ancient wisdom with modern knowledge. I feel that it was reaffirming my purpose. I felt that I was born to bridge worlds, to bridge the worlds of different medicines, and this vision affirmed that for me. Upon this realization, the words of my first native teachers echoed in my heart and mind. Granddaughter, communicate from your heart. See with your heart. Speak from your heart. Use your mind for knowledge and your heart for wisdom. Honor the good red road. Always remember the value of honoring spirit in treating the body and walking softly upon the earth. Teach about honoring the planets and animals and things. Do this, my granddaughter, for all the planet. These were the first teachers I had when I was in medical school. Before I even became a doctor, I was assigned to a reservation to be the doctor, and then the real doctor left, went on vacation, which was okay with me, but I became the doctor, and I had a very unusual experience, which I think changed my course forever. This story is told in my book, but I'll just tell the story. One day, I was responsible for the clinic. One day when I went to open up the clinic, I opened up the front door, and a woman, and I was early, fell into my arms, and she smelled of smoke, and she was clearly charred. Her hair was burned off, and she was wheezing, and she somehow got out that her propane tank had exploded the night before. So I don't know how long she was there against that door. So this was in the middle of South Dakota, and, Rapid City and Sioux Falls were on either side. And they didn't have helicopters that came to the reservation in those days. So we called an ambulance. In the meantime, I got her up on the table, did everything Western, started her on oxygen, took a chest x-ray, which was completely white, meaning it was totally full of fluid and swollen, and gave her some Lasix, which takes fluid off the body, gave her some prednisone, which would reduce the inflammation. And that was all we could do Western-wise. So I said to the nurse, look, go get her relatives, go get all of her friends and bring them here. And we'll create a healing circle, a praying circle around her. And they did, and we did, and we chanted and sang. And before we knew it, it seemed like no time at all, we heard the ambulance coming, and our prayers were answered. She began to turn pink before it came, and so the prayers were being heard. And so shortly after that, a young man comes up to me and goes, the medicine man wants you at his house at sundown. And I'm like, oh, eek! I thought I had, broke some, done some taboo thing or broke some rules or whatever. And so I went out there at sunset. I don't know if any of you have been on a reservation, but some of them are quite nice, but some of the older reservations that aren't up to dated have a lot of broken cars. They do. They call them dead ponies. They're everywhere. And a lot of dogs that are outside that just trot around. And as I was passing the dead ponies, the broken cars, and the little dogs started to follow me, and they're wagging their tails, and I collected about 3, 4, 5 little dogs. And what happens in the Midwest is we get these sunsets that fill the entire sky. And the entire sky turned orange. We call it heaven fire. And when that happens, I learned later from my teachers that means your ancestors are smiling on you. I didn't know that at the time. I just knew that felt good, and I didn't feel scared anymore. And when I walked up to the medicine man's house, he was standing there, big chest, with his woman, whose cheeks were so plump that you could just see little diamond sparkles coming out from her eyes. And they said, come in. They gave me a hug, and they said, sit down and eat with us. And then they asked me, come back the next night. And after a few nights, they told me that their ancestors had told them that there was something different about me, and that they needed to teach me their ways. And so I spent 4 years going back and forth, learning from them. And it was a great opportunity. It was a great experience until the day they told me, you know, we have to move on now, and you have to move on, and you know, you're going to medical school, and you know, more teachers will come for you. And in fact, they were correct. But it was a sad day when grandfather took me up the hill and said we would no longer be spending time together. But I learned so much, and that definitely changed my course. I learned the medicine wheel, I learned herbs from grandmother, and I still use them today. The medicine wheel is the framework, it's the directions. So the west is the body, south is the heart, the north is the spirit, and the east is the mind. So it's the mind, body, heart, spirit. And that's the framework upon which we can hang a lot of things. So if you're not considering all those aspects of the individual, you're not really looking at true balance. I consider myself a mind, body, spirit, soul futurist, and it all roots from my native teachings. So it's a beautiful thing, really, because you know what happened with Western medicine. We just and when I was a medical student, we drew our medicine from science. Don't get me wrong, I love science. I'm a scientist. I'm a researcher. But if you just draw from science as your altar, you're leaving something out. And I always, you know, compared it to the caduceus. The original caduceus, the winged staff of Mercury, has 2 snakes that go up and end up in wings. And the staff was used to call upon God to bring spirit back into the body of the ill, of the patient. If you look at the caduceus of the AMA, it has 1 snake. And I always felt that was the lack, you know, the ignoring or dismissive attitude towards spirit. We weren't even allowed to say the word spirit for a long time. Isn't that amazing? I mean, when I was a medical student in training, we couldn't say the S word. But now it's getting to be more where we could talk about spirit, we could talk about soul, and thank God, because it's so very important. And that's where I hope we're headed. The medicine of the future is to include those aspects, because that's where true healing lies. And when you read my book, you'll see that. And you'll see that happening in many people throughout the book. So I wouldn't normally do this, but because everything that's going on the planet right now, and all of the unrest and friction and separatism and prejudice, you know, I have to do this. You'll have to trust me and get the book and read it through to learn the different modalities that will make you more aware. But I'm just gonna take a big, huge leap and ask you to come with me right now, and to, if you, some of you are aware, so this won't be hard for you. Some of you, maybe this is new for you, so it will be planting seeds for you, or maybe it'll just, you're on your way and it'll help you further. But I want to jump to, I always knew when I was writing this book where I was going in terms of the end of the book, or where we had to end up to get what we needed to do to help heal ourselves and heal the planet, which is the byline of the title of the book. So this is the last chapter. It's called One Mind, One Planet. The vision for this book came nearly a quarter of a century ago. In a flash of inspiration, in 1997 Sundance, I was given a vision. You know, not everybody gets a vision, but we call for a vision. We actually ask for them. And if you are clean and open and you want to touch God, you want to touch cosmic consciousness, which is, we all can, it exists there for all of us, you can. I mean, everybody can do it. So during that vision, I was told to write a book about applied integrative healing and pulled together the wisdom, knowledge, and practices from all directions to help heal the planet and her people. Personally, I had a philanthropic desire to bring all of you under my wings and so you can experience some of the powerful journey and wonderful healing modalities that I've immersed myself in throughout my 40 years of experience. Like I said, I'm very proficient and have learned a lot in my journey. But again, the interesting thing is at the time of the vision, I hadn't mastered many of those modalities, so I had to live it before I could write it. So it was not only inspirational, but prophetic. And I had to trust it enough to follow it, to do it. When you get a vision, my teachers taught me, and I believe this to be true, it is totally your responsibility to do it. You have to keep that vibration alive on the planet, or, you know, it's just, you have to. If you get a vision, you need to fulfill it. It's your job. It's your job as a human being. It's a job as a planetary citizen to carry that out, because it will help change the world for the benefit, and it'll help a lot of people. Most of all, I wanted to share the essential pieces to create an environment for you to heal. A lot of you know me, and I know you trust me, so you'll stick with me and you'll do this. This is the true precipice of healing, not only for ourselves, the human race, but the planet. I've always held a heightened awareness and sense of oneness with the planet and the animals and plants and things. For instance, before the Amazon fire broke out, and even before Greta Thunberg hit the national scene, and before Jane Fonda started her stuff and the Leonardo DiCaprio campaign started, I was also on fire. So those people were probably getting it. I was getting it. You know, we have to come together at this time. And then something very interesting happened. Something called the coronavirus is what brought us together. Isn't that interesting? Although it's been pushing us apart too in a different way, because it's become political. And see, I see it entirely differently. I see that this time of pause, this time that the coronavirus drove us in, we saw our planet heal. We healed, and we looked inward in our own self and began to think more about self-care. I saw it all over social. The largest ozone layer hole over the Arctic healed during that first part of COVID. I mean, that's astounding. You know, just in like a month of us not driving our cars, we healed. That it shows you how robust the planet is, and how, you know, it's like a human body. It has amazing capacity to heal if we just only help it a little. As I mentioned before, this fires, I felt inside this impending horrific destruction was going to happen, and that we all needed to do something. But then when Corona happened, it kind of did it for us. But we got to remember, we're the first generation to feel the effects of climate change, and we're the last generation that has a chance to do something about it. Obama said that. That's a very erudite statement, and I think we all need to remember that. The awakening happens for all of us at different times. By reading my book, it will quicken your awakening. If you're not already there, it will help you get there. The first step in healing is awareness. So we need to be aware of how to heal and how to maintain wellness, and maybe because of it, because of the illnesses we're given or the challenges we're giving, that oftentimes I call them a gauntlet with a gift in it. You know, there's every illness, every problem that we're given, if we can heal it, we gain something from that. We gain knowledge, we gain strength, we gain empowerment. We become more of who we are. Don't let it take you down. Don't let it set you back. Push harder. Awareness is the first step. It's shocking, really, that humans occupy less than 10% of the world, yet we've leavened damage on almost 100% of it. 70% of the earth is covered in water. 10% is desert. And 10% is inhospitable, not livable mountains and wastelands. So how can we unleash nearly 100% devastation despite 10% occupancy? We're supposed to be the stewards and keepers and guardians of this planet. That's how it originally was. That was the agreement between man and the animals and plants and things. The indigenous people have stories and prophecies about that. At what point did our near ancestors decide that our planet and its animals and plants were material resources to be plundered for industry and profit rather than being beings connected together? Treating the earth as a source rather than a resource is one way we're going to get back online. It's not that we're not going to farm. We are, but there are more responsible ways of farming that we've learned. For instance, restorative farming, which returns the planet to its original form, and grasslands. They let all the animals be together, the wild animals, the pigs, the cows, the ducks, the birds. They all are together on the grasses, and then they mimic the predator-prey relationship, and they move them, and then the excrement, the waste and whatnot from the animals restores the grassland. And the cows are organic. They're happy. And if a person chooses to eat meat, that's kind of meat because it's not miserable. Those kind that are in feedlots, whatnot, are miserable beings. It's very sad. Plus, it's polluting the earth, causing more methane, CO2 gas emission. So, Corona forced us inward, into our homes and into ourselves. And we learned that when we're forcibly sidelined, that industry and our dependence on fossil fuels has a benefit on the planet. The planet can heal more quickly than we ever imagined. Most people can work at home. Living a hygienic, clean life is not such a hard thing. Maybe it's a good thing. Media has a lot of nonsense and disturbs people's peace. Healthcare professionals are undervalued and should be regarded as highly as actors and sports heroes. They save lives. Animals in captivity probably feel like we do in quarantine. Oil is worthless in a society without a drive for consumption. As a matter of fact, in April 20th, 2020, the price of oil dropped to below zero for the first time in history. It's all us, and it's all up to us. Life is valuable and fragile and needs to be treated with great care and gratitude. The best model is to treat others with kindness and compassion. I believe that with awareness that comes from healing ourselves, we can and will become truly benevolent guardians of our planet once again. Some of us have served in this role for decades. Others are just coming into it. I believe it's time for us all to take this responsibility. If we shift into that perspective of the one mind, I call it pointing your arrow in a sacred direction. There are those that, oh my God, this is happening. Or what if that happens? Or, those guys are really mean, so I'm going to be mean back to them. You can't fight fire with fire. You're going to burn everything down. But if you take your energy, and I'm just talking energy here, and you point it in a sacred direction, and enough people do that together, it doesn't matter what color you are, it doesn't matter what creed you are, it doesn't matter what religion you are, it doesn't matter what political standing you have, it doesn't matter what you are. We are all human. We have that in common. And we have the responsibility for taking care of our planet in common. And the other stuff is just, I think, distracting. It's distracting us from what we really need to do. And that's take care of ourselves and take care of our planet. Now, some of them may pertain to that. I don't say no. But really, our priorities are out of alignment. And we need to get them back into alignment, even if it's just energy. If we're all thinking together. They've measured this. This is a really interesting thing. There's a couple of scientists that measured the magnetics of the earth when people were having like mind, like during Christmas or other holidays or the Super Bowl or whatever. I can't find their names right this moment. But what they found is the earth's magnetics literally blossoms, like in a good way, when we're all thinking the same. That's called cosmic consciousness. So it's not a woo-woo thing. It's not a woo-woo thing. It's not made up. It's measurable. They also, other scientists have measured that our thoughts are not in your head, are not in our head. That's kind of interesting. What does that mean? They're projected out from us. That's how this occurs. So when we all are projecting positive thoughts, beneficial thinking, it creates beneficial things. The birds start flying and singing, the planet blossoms too. So this is something that we can all do and we all have access to. Now, we can't stay there all the time. That's like being in meditation 24/7. I mean, it's not going to serve anything. You need to go out, you need to collect the energy, collect the knowledge, and bring it back to the earth where we need it. It's a very interesting thing. The one thing that happens when you become aware, when you become truly aware, you can't go back. You can't become unaware. You can't look at a piece of plastic the same way or think about the toxicity of the food that's in the herbicides, pesticides, and fungicides that are causing cancer and killing our children. And you can't think about it the same way once you know about it. So it's really about becoming aware and then buying the right, I always say, vote with your dollar. Buy the right food, buy organic food, buy regeneratively raised meats, grass-fed. And what's good for you is, guess what? Good for the planet. So it just works that way. So I think that we're all being called, and I'm calling you, to rise up and transform and change right now. We have about 10 or 20 years to get our act together, and we can do this. And if right now a lot of us are confined to home, or we don't feel like we can go out, you can have the right attitude. You can point your arrow in the right sacred direction, and that's doing something. Stop worrying so much. Stop creating things in your mind and responding to them like they're real. That's negative. I know it's hard, but do a little reality check. Is that really happening right now? No, it's not really happening right now. So just think positively, behave positively, be kind, be compassionate. It's going to help change things. There's other examples of cosmic consciousness I'd like to share with you. For instance, back in the day when we were a group of housewives, I wasn't a housewife, I was a doctor, but with a bunch of housewives, we created the Los Angeles Urban Wilderness Coalition, and we were preserving open space up in the Mulholland Scenic Parkway, above the Hollywood Hills in that area, and that we were saving the ancient oak trees, and we took turns camping out or sitting in the oak trees so they couldn't chop them down, because they were they're like thousands of years old and very precious. And so we were kind of winning in the sense that one day the head contractor came out to meet with us, and we're sitting in the tree, and he goes, okay, I'll negotiate with you. And he was this very large Persian guy, no racism meant, just a description. And so we came down from the tree, I brought my papers, and we went over to negotiate with him. And all of a sudden, as if on cue, a huge swarm of bees came out from as if nowhere and started swimming around me and the other women in our group. And the guy was freaked out. And he goes, oh my God, lady, you got bees on you. I go, yeah, I know, that's okay. They know what they're doing. They don't want the trees cut down either. So it's interesting. Bees are very altruistic. They speak to each other, and they tap into the oneness. So animals are really sensitive to this. And if anybody is into animals, that's true. Animals can feel the oneness in you. If, I see you, or the God in me honors the God in you. One time when I went to Africa, I said to my friend Sagango, I said, gosh, I don't hear the lions. I really miss the lions. He goes, oh, they're here. And so that night, as I slept, I heard a lion, not from far away, but right next to me. So I'm sleeping in a canvas tent, and a lion is right outside my tent sleeping. And I heard her, that's the sound they make. And at first I was startled. I woke up, and then I went oh my God, it just lulled me to sleep. The next day I went out and I saw her where her body laid, and her prints were, and I showed Sagongo, and he says, they only do sleep with their pride. You must be lioness. I secretly liked that, but he's probably right. And so another time, the only time I didn't ride, because I go to Africa to go on horseback safari, I stayed in my tent, and the entire matriarchal herd of elephants, because I was pining for the elephants, came to my tent, encircled my tent, and spent the whole day there eating and grunting. And I went out onto the little step outside my tent, and these are wild elephants. The mom walked straight over to me, one of the moms with her baby in tow, stuck her trunk right out to my face and sniffed my head. And I have a video of it, but it's so amazing, the connection between animals and people. Like Jane Goodall, really, you know, she knew, you know, you can connect with them because they understand, you understand. It's a beautiful thing. And elephants are very smart and very bright. I understand they like us because they think we're cute, like puppies or something like that. So, if you guys have questions or comments, don't hesitate to DM me. I will answer them all. It's hard for me to do while I'm talking because I can't read and see them at the same time. But clearly this is my call to action for all of us. Heal ourselves, connect with oneness, one mind, one planet. It's indeed a bold call. However, these are troubled times, and troubled times call for a bold call. It is the most rapid, direct way that we can affect change. We don't have to go through change of bureaucracy. We just have to get it together, ourselves and with each other, and recognize and bond with other souls. If we wake up and, despite our cultural and religious differences, realize we are one people, one planet, and that our planet is in trouble, then a critical mass of people with common intention can affect global change immediately. Think back to the Civil Rights Movement and the Vietnam War. Heal yourself, heal the planet. Love you guys, and I'll see you next week. Okay. Write me.